Welcome back to the Level 1 Lounge, where we give our uneducated take on everything and anything gamer related. Once again, this week I am hosting. I'm kind of doing this like back to back because when I was off 2 weeks ago, Ryder did two episodes back to back. So I figured it's only fair to him if I do two back to back. So give
Appreciate it,
him a
bud.
little, no problem. And I'm still dealing with this freaking cold too. But I've got cold medicine, I got halls, I got water next to me, so I'm good until I start coughing, and then you see my microphone go off and hear nothing. Anyway,
Don't worry about it. Ryder can always edit it.
fix it in post. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm your host this week, the one, the only, the second Irish Bandit, and I am joined as always by my two awesome co-hosts, Ryder Pride 639 and Agent Maverick 86. Gents, how you doing this week?
Not bad. Looking forward to
Yeah.
playing or talking about some games.
And playing them too.
And playing them.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
I just quickly want to talk one little thing about one really cool thing that happened to me this week. I got to meet and I got to learn from WWF legend, former WWF Intercontinental Champion, former WWF European Champion, D'Lo Brown this past week. It was friggin' phenomenal, man. Just a cool moment that I had since the start of this wrestling thing, but just something I wanted to share with everyone. So we got a lot of news to get through, but first and foremost, we always have our opening question to start with. And our question this week, or my question this week, I guess is Maverick's question, but I liked it, so I'm going to use it. uh, what is the one game that made you want to buy a console? I think I want to go first for this one for like first time ever. The game that made me want to buy a console, Kingdom Hearts, and that's what happened. I actually bought my PS2 first before Kingdom Hearts, but after everything with everything that I heard about it, it was like, okay, no, if I want to play this game, I got to get a PS2, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
And
I've heard that story. I've heard that actually a lot. That same story from a lot of people. Actually, Kingdom Hearts 2 pushing a lot of people towards Kingdom Hearts period or PlayStation 2 period. Yeah, so I think that story is very relatable there, Rob.
I think
Well,
so.
I'll definitely say, because I was going to say, yeah, you took my answer, sort of. Mine wasn't the PS2 Kingdom Hearts. The game that made me buy a console was actually the PS4 Pro, and that was Kingdom Hearts 3 Special Edition, or the Collector's Edition. So I bought the PS4 Pro that actually had like the Kingdom Hearts, like they had the Kingdom Hearts logos all over the controller, all over the console. That was the console mover for me. Now, unfortunately, Kingdom Hearts 3 wasn't as good as its previous iterations, but yeah, that was the one big console mover for me. Didn't really, I mean, I bought a Switch, but I didn't really have a specific game in mind when I bought it. I just kind of wanted it for the sake of having it. So yeah, that's my little story.
So, despite this being my question, I still had a hard time coming up with an answer. A little backstory on how this question came up. So I did kind of have the idea last week, but it kind of was solidified here with something that happened with me this weekend. I unfortunately had my PlayStation 5 crap out on me. So I ended up having it replaced. And I picked up the Slim. And so I figured this was a good opportunity to come up with this question, and have that discussion. So that's kind of the backstory of what happened with that. But anyways, so there's actually two games that came to mind for me at first. The PlayStation 4 was actually the first console that I ever bought at launch, where I was really excited for it. I needed to get my hands on it. And the reason being was a little game called Destiny. I seen the trailers for it. I was so excited for it. Got hyped, and it was a game that I absolutely needed a console for to be able to jump in with that with friends right away. But the one that also stood out for me as well was I went back and I watched the showcase of the PlayStation 5 announcements with all the games that were released, and I kind of actually forgot but as soon as it came up, it really hit me hard that the game that was actually announced to start that show was Spider-Man Miles Morales. And right away, I remember being so excited for the new system of I have to get my hands on this. And then they also ended that showcase with Horizon Forbidden West. And again, my hype was through the roof. I needed to pick up those games.
Forbidden West or Zero Dawn?
Forbidden West. Forbidden West was announced as the last game during that showcase. And it didn't really show much at first. It was just a cinematic trailer. It was just Aloy running on the beach on a Strider. And it got me so excited that they had another game coming out fairly quick. Of course, it wasn't a launch game. There was also another one that I was excited for in there too that didn't perform so well, but Forspoken, I was nearly counting down the days for that one.
Didn't perform so well.
Oh, that was awful, awful game. Worst game I've ever played in my life. But anyway, so those were the ones that really stood out for me. So I'm going to say final answer was actually Destiny for the PlayStation 4 because that was the first console that I was like, I need this day one.
All right. Well, now that we got that out of the way, we got some news to get to. Not a whole ton of news today, but still some goodies here today. So let's jump right into it with our first news story, and that being Star Wars Outlaws doesn't have XP or levels. When speaking with Matthias Katzen on how the open world works for Outlaws, he revealed that the game's character's progression is quite different from other Ubisoft games and RPGs in general, as it's not tied to experience or leveling up. Instead of giving the players skill trees and characteristics pool XP into, case abilities and items are earned through quests with experts, special NPCs that you meet out in the world who train you and offer you upgrades. We saw a bit of this in action during Ubisoft Forward, which showed Kay working towards a quest to find an expert gunslinger to teach her some new tricks. So that's something different, and I gotta say, in this case, different is good. Like we've all known the leveling XP systems. You know, Ryder and I are hardcore Final Fantasy players, so we know all about leveling and XP and things like that. So I think this is something. This sounds like something good. It could be something to look forward to in different games in the future. What do you guys think?
I'm glad they're taking a break from their standard procedure of how they've been running things the last few years. Like take Assassin's Creed for an example, was really geared towards a leveling system and XP and a massive skill tree. So it's kind of nice to see that they're able to learn new tricks. Is my stance. I'm sure Ryder's going to have a lot to say about this because I think this is his most anticipated game of the year.
Oh, wow. Yeah, absolutely, and I mean I totally agree. I think this is absolutely a nice change from things, especially considering that like you think back to a lot of the other Star Wars games that have come before, and almost all of them have had some kind of XP or leveling or like skill, I guess, like a tree progression type of thing in one form or another, whether it be, you know, Old Republic, you look at both of the Jedi Survivor games. I think even Rogue Squadron had it, Battlefront had it. They all had some type of numerical linear progression in some way, shape, or form. So seeing them do something like this, I think, is a nice, fresh take on it. And I'm excited to see how it pans out. I mean, it'll be nice to actually, you know, just jump into the game and just play the game for what it is and not have to worry about all these extra numbers in the background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and I mean that also means that they're going to be moving away from level locked areas where it's oh, you shouldn't be in this area. You know, you're level 5 and you're walking into a level 26 area. So, I mean, that's always a pain.
Dude, just when at me next time, okay?
Yeah. And I mean, even like under the circumstances, it's such a great, as we said, great refreshing way of doing things differently. So yeah, I'm very excited to see how this pans out with this game, and I'm glad that Ubisoft is starting to learn a little bit. but I'm also kind of holding my breath on saying that they've learned completely because we still have Assassin's Creed in November. So, I mean, that could be a completely different conversation. So, we'll have to see how this works. I'm very excited for it.
Sticking with Ubisoft and Star Wars, Ubisoft says Star Wars Outlaws planet is the size of 2 or 3 Assassin's Creed Odyssey map zones put together, which takes about 5 minutes non-stop on a speeder to pass. Creative director Julian
Garrity?
Garrity,
Garrity.
thank you.
Yeah.
Said that the first planet, or rather moon, you visit, called Toshara, takes 4 or 5 minutes non-stop to cover while riding your speeder bike, which I'm guessing moves a bit faster than a horse in Assassin's Creed Valhalla or The Witcher 3. Yeah, I would imagine so. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but once you're committed, it's a fairly large amount, and you're always going to be distracted. He said. Sounds pretty massive to me.
Oh,
You guys think?
it is. Odyssey was one of the biggest Assassin's Creed maps ever created. So that when they're talking about that kind of scale, it's huge or huge. And I'll look up the size of the Odyssey map. For some reason, I didn't look that up here before.
You're unprepared.
So the Odyssey map is 130 kilometers squared. So you can kind of imagine how large that is put together. So to go across the map in 5 minutes, and you're going to get distracted. It's open world. That's the way that it works. I mean, Red Dead Redemption's kind of like that. I've been playing that nonstop these days, and I know that I had this conversation with a few people where it's like, well, hold on, Red Dead Redemption 2, there's nothing there. There's absolutely something there. There's NPCs that you can interact with just on the fly. You pass by somebody, you can stop and help them out, or you can stop and rob them. It's going to be something similar to that, where there might be an event or a question mark or something. And The Witcher 3 is I hope it's not that large when it comes to question marks, because it's almost overwhelming. So again, it's one of those things that I think that there's going to be a lot to explore. There's going to be a lot to do. I would say for a completionist, I would be shocked if it was going to be less than 120 hours to get that platinum trophy or 100%.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm looking forward to as well. I mean, I'm the completionist type. Anybody that knows me knows exactly that. So, I mean, yeah, I'm curious to see how many planets we get to play on, especially if we're considering that if one particular planet, which I think they actually mentioned, I think of it. I remember them mentioning Tatooine having being a part of the story as well. And that will likely end up being the same thing with Toshara, where, if it's 2 or 3 Odyssey zones put together, you're looking at 350 to 400 square kilometers of area. But the fact that you can cross 400 square kilometers in 5 minutes on a speeder, yeah, that's a pretty damn good speeder, let me tell you.
Oh, definitely.
So and I've played Star Wars. I've crossed Tatooine on a speeder before, so let me tell you.
There are 5 planets. Tatooine, Toshara. I'm going to apologize if I butcher this, because I'm
That's okay. I'll correct
I'm not
you.
too familiar with the other one. Akarva, Kimji, and Cantona. Cantonia. Yeah, I can't pronounce the last one.
I have to look at the spelling, but
yeah, Cantonica.
Cantonica.
Blanking on that.
Yeah.
Cantonica. Thank you.
Yeah.
So there are 5 different planets that are put together, and Tatooine is supposed to be apparently the largest out of all of them, according to developers as well. So yeah, it's exciting. I can't wait to get my hands on that game for sure.
Yeah, same here.
Definitely looks like it's going to be a fun game. Moving on to our next story. Oh, we're talking about one of your favorite subjects here, Mav. Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League Season 2 suddenly delayed by 2 weeks. Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League second season was supposed to go live on July 11th, but it's suddenly been hit with a last-minute delay that has pushed it back by 2 weeks. Season 2 of Kill the Justice League is set to introduce Mr. Freeze as a new playable character.
Mrs. Freeze.
Oh,
Mrs.
Mrs. Freeze.
Freeze.
Mrs. Freeze.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought that was a typo too.
I thought it was
No, it is Nora Freeze.
Ah,
I'll
okay.
get to that.
The question needs to be asked, what is in store for the game as the player count has continued to drop, not a surprise, and the performance of the game is underwhelming. Okay, Mav, you're up.
Okay, so the reason why
I'll be back in 20 minutes.
The reason why they are pointing to me right away is I am a massive DC fan.
Mhm. Marvel's
Marvel's great in its own right, but I am a huge Superman fan, as you can see a little bit here behind me. I had issues with this game from the jump. The gameplay did not look good. I also I realized that Suicide Squad's always been geared towards a different objectives. I thought that Rocksteady was essentially killing any form of future with their games by going this route and killing the members of the Justice League. And I've said it before on this podcast, and it's been a few months since I've said it. I want a goddamn Superman game. I know it's never going to happen, but I want a Superman game, and it pisses me off that the first time that they introduced Superman in any kind of game recently, the goal is to murder him, and it ticks me off. And there's so much they could do with these characters. And it was a shame that Kevin Conroy got the sign off that he did with this game. And I am so thankful that it's not his actual last performance as Batman. I am so happy that he actually has a few lines in the new upcoming animated movie, Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 3. He deserved better. Thank God he got something better. So this is not a shock, and I hope this game does. I am excited for Rocksteady's take on Wonder Woman. We've only seen a teaser trailer for it, and I want that game over this crap. And Mrs. Freeze was introduced as a character from an alternate universe, apparently. And it's the same way that they brought the Joker in as well for this game as well, because if you're familiar with the Arkham universe, Joker dies in Arkham City. Spoilers. Who cares? It's been 10 years. Get over it. And so Joker's gone. They bring him in from a parallel universe. And I felt that it was a way of them just throwing something on the wall and hoping it sticks. So this game has irritated the heck out of me from the jump. And I was kind of hopeful that they'd be like, well, maybe they're going to neutralize the Justice League and find a way to break that connection that Brainiac had with the Justice League. But no, they're murdered. They're gone. Let's just scrap the whole universe and to hell with doing anything in the future. Pisses me off.
Well, I mean, you also got to think how many times, if you look at the DC universe, look at all the various comics, how many times has Batman died? How many times has Superman died? How many times has the Suicide Squad died? Yeah, no, you start counting on multiple fingers here. So I mean, it's the story. I mean, like it's not like they're gonna kill the Justice League and you're never gonna see them in any form of media ever again. That's not the way it's gonna work. But I mean, in terms of how bad the game is performing, I quite literally got it for free on Twitch Prime. So I mean, obviously they're bleeding players and they're literally trying to give it away now just to try and get players into the game to play it. So
they're trying to pad their numbers is what they're trying to do. And what's going to happen is I can promise you're going to jump in for a round or two, and I'm sure you're going to probably get a message from Monster saying, "Hey, you got Suicide Squad, jump in with me for a couple of rounds, I'll grind out for Mrs. Freeze." But at the end of the day, their player count, I think at the lowest that they had was 250 players at a time on Steam. It is terribly, performing right now. It is not doing well at all. And I'm happy about that because Rocksteady can do better. Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight, those are staple superhero games. And I cannot talk those games up enough. And just to have that Batman be killed like that is so frustrating. And I'm okay with it not performing. I want to see other characters brought in, and I'm good with Rocksteady having the opportunity to grow that universe. And I just feel like they shot themselves in the foot doing things the way that they did, and that's why I'm so mad at this game.
Yeah, like I said, alternate universes and then just non-canonized stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't put that much emotion into it personally, but that's just me.
Yeah, and you've let your rage show time and time again on the podcast. So,
Rob, I gotta ask, what's your take? You've asked us, but I gotta ask you, what's your take on this?
I don't know too much about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League to give an opinion, honestly. I'd have to play it myself.
Well, apparently you can still pick it up for free. So
if you have Twitch Prime,
yeah.
which I don't. Yeah, I don't know. The I guess it's the job of the trailer to make things look good. So I don't know. Any trailer that I saw looked kind of fun, but everything I've been hearing about it, view-wise, has just been at best.
It's repetitive. It's the same thing over and over and over again, same objectives. And I realize, I know I can hear monsters scream in the background. That's video games in general, like at times. But the fact is, you need to be able to have some kind of variant, like of variable, like different types of missions and stuff. You got to be able to do something different, and it's the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And I've talked with people that have played this game, and it's repetitive in regards to the mission types. They just needed to be able to do more. Go protect this tower. Go activate this tower. Go do this. You know, it's frustrating. I mean, Helldivers 2 has more of a variable when it comes to their mission types. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
In the words of Peter Griffin, it insists upon itself.
Should have seen that one coming.
You should have. Anyway, on to our next news story. The Witcher 4 is in the most advanced state of development among all the games currently underway at CD Projekt, ahead of The Witcher remake and Cyberpunk 2. CD Projekt Associate Game Director Pavel Sasko says Polaris, better known as The Witcher 4, that's not an official title, but that's what we call it, is the most advanced project currently in the works at the studio. But don't get too excited thinking about returning to the world of The Witcher anytime soon, because all the studio's games are still a long way off. Maverick, you're our Witcher expert. What do you think about this?
Let it cook, let it cook, let it cook, let it cook.
Let it cook.
Exactly.
I am fine with them taking their time.
Mm-hmm.
Am I excited for this game? Absolutely. But you know what? I have The Witcher 3 still to play. That I can, get one out of the 36 different endings. I've been jumping between that and Red Dead Redemption 2 right now. I am happy with returning to Witcher 3 right now instead. I want to make, with the way that that Cyberpunk was released, this is a good idea to take your time with developing this game. Take your time, make sure you get the characters right. And I don't know. I still think that there's a possibility that you might be able to design your own Witcher. It would be very cool. They're introducing a brand new school that has never been alluded to, which is the School of the Lynx is what it's going to be. There's been no reference to it anywhere. So it's a school that's been either just starting up or is hidden. I'm excited to learn about it, but let's get the lore right. The author has been heavily involved with this project as well. CD Projekt Red, I got to commend you for that. This is where you stand out miles higher than Netflix with ripping apart the source material. You're actually getting the author involved. I applaud you for that. Take your time with this game. I'm fine with waiting. I'm fine with waiting for Cyberpunk 2. I still haven't finished the first one. I'm good with waiting. So, yes, let it cook. I'm good.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope they learn from their mistakes from what happened with the first Cyberpunk. I mean, you look at the game now. The game is fantastic. Like it's absolutely wonderful now that they've had a chance to actually kind of fix the problems. But I would much rather see the game not have that many problems on release rather than having to wait for the problems to get fixed later. That usually runs the risk of, if you buy a game, it's broken as all hell. Yeah, you could revisit it later once it's all fixed. But by the time that happens, you've got all these other games in your library that that have already got your attention. So you run the risk of falling into irrelevancy really, really quickly in cases like that. So no, I am 100% with Mav. Let it cook and make sure you do it right. We've seen too many instances, not just from CD Projekt Red, but from all kinds of developers, big and small, that games are releasing absolutely unplayable on release. So, yeah, hopefully it'll buck the trend. Whether or not I get into the new Witcher, yeah, that's kind of up in the air. Hasn't really been my kind of game, but all the same, it's definitely one of those things. I know how popular it is, not just with Mav, but with other members of not just my community, but our communities as a whole. We know how big this game was. You know how popular it is. It needs to be done right by. For everyone's sake. Otherwise, it could be not just a death knell for the series, but it could be a death knell for the company as well.
Yeah, it could be Liam Hemsworth in a wig as Geralt.
You're still salty about that one.
Oh, as I said, I'm going to give him a shot, but my expectations are extremely low. But unfortunately, when it comes to CD Projekt Red, I love the developer. They're fantastic, but every single game that they've released, it's been released broken, and they've patched the hell out of it every single time, to the point where it's patched so much it's unrecognizable, and it's one of the best games created. Witcher 3 went through that at launch. Cyberpunk's going through that now. And I'm going to say this: if it does release broken, yeah, let it gather some dust. Let it sit there for a little while. Go back to it later. I realize that your backlog will, like mine, is going to grow, but at least you'll have the opportunity to go back and play it when it's actually finished and is a completed project, which they should be doing at launch. I will admit that, yes, it needs to be done at launch, but I am also hopeful that maybe that won't be release broken this time. But every game gets patched anyways. It's just the way that the industry is.
And speaking of Cyberpunk, while on the subject of games by CD Projekt Red, Cyberpunk Director says Cyberpunk 2077's catastrophic launch crushed the developers, and the subsequent redemption arc was basically group therapy. Cyberpunk 2077's release was described as the highest profile launch, one of the highest profile launch disasters in video game history, and it really was bad times. After years of white hot hype, Cyberpunk arrived with major technical issues and bugs across all platforms, and things so bad on PlayStation that Sony took the unprecedented step of removing the game from the store.
Yeah,
Like we all saw the aftermath of that.
and
Yeah.
When they were and when you say white hot hype, when you announce a game of this caliber by getting Keanu Reeves to announce it for you on stage, and you mess it up that badly, yeah, they're lucky that they were able to redeem it when they did. Yeah. And I mean, it did get so bad that it was taken off of the PlayStation Store. I think Epic even took it off their store too. Steam kept it on theirs, but Epic took it off of theirs. And yeah, like I said, I bought it. I pre-ordered it. I played it at launch. I managed to get through some of the bugs, but yeah, some of the other ones that were there. I remember, Rob, when after we first made V, and I think when we first got to our own apartment and looked in the mirror, and like half the stuff on our body didn't render properly, and we're like, "What the hell is this?" So I mean, things like, okay, bugs like that you can typically, it might be a little bit immersion breaking, but stuff like that, as long as it doesn't completely break the game, is not
Right.
so bad. But some of the other stuff that happened during that game with, you try to call your car and your car appears 26 miles down the road, and you're like, oh, you gotta be kidding me.
I had a hover car over top of a sewer system at one point.
I
Like
think
it
off,
was.
I think off stream there was a point where I called a car and it barreled through traffic and landed in front of me on fire, and all four wheels had popped, and I was like, well, I can't drive this. So yeah, no, it was awful. It was absolutely awful. But big props to CDPR for for getting it back on track again.
Yeah,
And I mean, at least they
that was
were able to
something
redeem
different.
themselves, and they got Idris Elba. I mean, come on,
Yeah,
I mean, that guy is awesome.
absolutely. And like I was saying, at least they were able to get that redemption in the end and actually make something playable that's good. I assume it's good. I haven't played it yet. Somebody lied to me and said that it was free on Steam, and I went to go get it, and it was full price.
I have no idea. I've never heard of it being free on Steam.
So this game, like this, is actually one of the reasons why I haven't finished it. Was I was excited for it. Bought the PlayStation 4. Like I got the PlayStation 4 version for Christmas. I installed it, and as I said, at one point, I called my car, and car came barreling through a wall and was hovering over a sewer system. And how am I supposed to get to it? It crashed through shipping crate containers and stuff too, or just drive right through them. And no damage to the shipping containers, like actually drove through it. And that experience really soured my taste on the game quite a bit. So I never went back to it. And I know that there's been PlayStation 5 upgrades since. And I again haven't gotten into it because I still have the issue of I get my games on physical editions, and when I install the PlayStation 5 version, I need to keep the PlayStation 4 version installed on my system, and I wish that there was some way of preventing that from happening. Like I'll delete it, and as soon as I put the game in, it's trying to reinstall the PlayStation 4 version. So, which is one of the reasons why I'm happy with going to digital as well going forward. Um, but this game has kind of crept in the back of my mind a lot more lately, and I know that I got to give it another shake. In regards to them feeling crushed, that it was that catastrophic, I got to say, good. You learned your lesson. You made the fixes. Let's move forward. Don't do it again. Please don't screw up Witcher 4. Let it cook. I want to go back to that. This game needed a little bit more time in the oven. They needed more testing, and it needed to be rushed out. But I also think the biggest problem that they had was there's a major push for it to be on last gen consoles as well. I'm going to say last gen when I'm referring to Xbox One and PlayStation 4. I think we're at that stage where we can say current gen is PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S.
Yeah, I think so.
So last gen, there's a major push for it to be on last gen. And I think that was kind of the downfall of this game as well. Because it was pushing the system specs way too hard. And the systems were just not able to handle it. And I'm not saying that that's an excuse, especially playing it on a PlayStation 4 Pro or PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X. They needed to have it cook regardless. And I think if they were going to be pushed, it was going to be pushed to be on last gen. They should have just said to Sony and to Microsoft, hey, then we're not releasing it for another few years until you're okay with it being on current gen. We're not doing it. You're going to have to wait. And that would have been a better approach. But of course, Cyberpunk, like CD Projekt Red, hadn't had any games come out since Witcher 3 that I'm aware of. They needed to get something out the door. I think that's also another issue. So now that they've learned this lesson, hopefully they've learned to not do that again.
Not do that again, and just like you said, like you've been saying, this segment, let it cook.
Yep.
Make the best possible game you can.
Stop releasing broken games. If it's not
Yes.
ready, let it cook.
So moving on, now we're moving on to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 multiplayer beta kicks off in August. The Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Let me try that again. Oh, good God.
Put your
The
teeth
call.
in.
Yeah. I'll say it slow and enunciate. The Call of Duty Black Ops 6 multiplayer beta is set to kick off in August. And for the first time in many years, we're all jumping into it together, which means it will be available to all players on all platforms. Pre-orders getting early access from August 30th to September 4th, and the full open beta open to all players regardless of order status from September 6th to September 9th. Ryder, I bet you're looking forward to that.
Not as much this year.
No?
I've been kind of getting away from the Call of Duty scene, for other reasons. I mean, this particular kind of news is exciting. I mean, for the open beta, it's open beta. I'll probably play it. I'm free to play, obviously. As for what this actually means for this Call of Duty community, I think is really, really huge. It's great that they're finally taking a step away from, okay, PlayStation gets their open beta this week, and then everybody else gets their open beta, the week after and whatnot. The problem with the way they did it is that Sony PlayStation players got this weekend to do their open beta, and then everybody else. The problem is everybody else included the Sony's PlayStation players. So Sony basically got 2 sets of open betas to play with, where everybody else on Xbox and PC only got the one. So it's finally nice to see that everybody kind of gets a level playing field, so to speak. It looks like it's going to be an interesting story, being set during the Gulf War. So I mean, I'm curious to see kind of where they take the story. How many of the characters from Cold War are going to come back? Obviously, we know Woods is going to be there. We know now I can't think of the antagonist's name for the previous ones either, but. We're gonna see a lot of the characters that we know and love make their returns, and having open betas, obviously, it's a great way to really stress test the systems. What's
Mason.
the name?
Mason.
No, Mason was one of the protagonists.
Oh, it's antagonist. Sorry.
Yeah, you'll probably come across
Kravchenko,
Kravchenko, but no.
Kravchenko. Yes. Thank you.
No. Anyways, that's not him.
Okay. I'm going to stop throwing names at you.
You keep doing it long enough, you'll eventually get it right.
Yeah, I mean, Adler.
Yeah, Broken Clock is right at least twice a day, right?
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, Adler was his name. Anyways, besides the point.
Joey Jones,
open beta.
Junior Shabadoo.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of a name is that? That's the stupidest name I ever heard.
Why, come back, Joey Jojo. Anyway, we're getting off topic here.
Like I said, open beta. This has always been kind of a mainstay when it comes to new Call of Duty titles. Good to see they're doing it again. Glad to see that they're finally opening it up to everybody all at once. Like I said, I'll probably jump into it just to kind of putz around with it. I know there's a couple of communities that I'll usually get around to playing some Call of Duty games with anyways. But yeah, whether or not I get into this one just because of just past history with other Call of Duty games, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Toxic player base.
Yeah, exactly. Toxic player bases, and one of the main reasons why I've been getting away from Call of Duty, the cheating pandemic has been. It's been escalating more and more every single title, it seems. So that's why I've been kind of stepping away from it.
Yeah.
Mav, what you got? Oh, sorry.
Well,
God.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest reason that I kind of veered away from it was because, as stated in the Video Game Awards last year, that Christopher's Judge speech the year before was actually longer than the campaign.
I didn't want to,
and that was the biggest thing that threw me off in regards to that game. This I have never been into Call of Duty multiplayer.
I've never been in
Um,
Call of Duty.
and I've always been more in for the campaign. And a short campaign, actually, that's not completely true. Zombies is a great way of killing time as well. Which is one of the reasons why I'm waiting for a deep sale to pick up Call of Duty, and I'm also wondering if maybe it'll make its way onto Game Pass at some point. So I may not even make that plunge at all.
I believe
So
Black Ops 6 is supposed to be day one Game Pass.
it is. Black Ops 6 is, but I was talking more Modern Warfare 3.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
I haven't got into that one. But I do agree. I think this is a great way of stressing the servers a little bit more, and making it a little bit more fair. However, I do think that it may also stress the servers more than what they intended to. I would expect a fair amount of crashes during that weekend. That's my prediction. Um, I'm not married to that prediction. I'm sure I could be proven wrong, and I'd be happy to be proven wrong. But every time that there's a beta test where it's just open to everyone, there's always some kind of issues. Take a look at Diablo 4 beta. How long did it take for people to get signed in? I remember sitting there one time for an hour to an hour and a half. It's likely it could be the same thing.
I wouldn't be the least bit surprised, but that's why they do it though too.
Yeah.
To basically say, okay, how many people can we throw at the server before the whole server farm bursts into flames type of thing.
But when you do that, be prepared for it, and be
Yeah.
prepared for backlash. I'm be happy to be proven wrong, but that's what I'm expecting. I won't be touching it though. I'm ready for the actual campaign. And thinking about it, I should go back and replay Cold War.
Yeah, it was a good story too.
Yeah, it was.
You guys are talking about day one Game Pass. I was waiting for Monster to pop up. You can get it on Xbox.ca.
I'm sure he'll tell us in the
yeah,
comments.
you,
Monster, tell us in the comments. How do we get Xbox Game Pass?
make sure you like and subscribe.
Yeah.
And on that note, again, Game Pass prices are going up September 22nd. Take a look at maybe picking up a card or two if you're going to be interested in picking up Game Pass. I made sure to actually pick up another 3 months. I'm paid up until March of next year.
Nice.
So I'm not going to have to pay that extra because I've picked up those cards. And I realize that it's only $2 more in Canada, but that's still $2 more a month in Canada. So take a look at doing it. Save yourself a few bucks. Do that now.
Speaking of betas, Concord beta, which runs July 18th to 21st, will be open to everyone. During the PlayStation State of Play, the reactions seem to be lukewarm. And not from us. I think we all loved seeing the Concord trailer. Or maybe it was just me. I don't know. Questions were raised why they would reveal the paid experience alongside free-to-play game Marvel Rivals. Regardless, there's a beta that will be available as of Thursday. The information that Firewalk has provided on the beta is all 16 free gunners, 4 maps, free water, star chamber, water hazard, and shock risk, 3 game modes, Congo Run, Flashpoint, Trophy Hunt, planets to explore, and first cinematic. So yeah, like I was saying, I don't know. I was kind of impressed with the Concord trailer when we watched it on the State of Play live reaction. But what about you guys? Do you think something you'd be getting into?
Ryder, please take it away. I want to hear your thoughts on this one first.
Well, unfortunately, with the way weekend plans are coming up right now, I probably won't have a chance to take part in it. But I'll be keeping a close eye. I'll probably check out a couple content creator channels just to kind of see how it plays. I'd like to see how it plays first before I really make a decision. I could go either way on this. The cinematic reveal that we saw at the showcase, it was entertaining. But I was more interested in trying to see, what is this game about? Like, what are we getting into, type of thing.
Right.
Cinematics is one thing. Obviously, we all love a good story here, and the presentation was actually pretty good. I thought it was entertaining, but yeah, it's going to come down to what is this gameplay all about. And from the sounds of it, it's another Overwatch clone or another Overwatch type clone, which does have me a little leery, particularly because of what happened to Overwatch 2 and how far down it's fallen in the popularity ranks.
So I'm going to build off of what you said. This game should be free to play, is my thoughts. That's the only way that this game is going to succeed. They're going to launch at the same time that Marvel Rivals, like Marvel Rivals was announced at the same point. The reviews that I've come across so far on the closed beta last week has been lukewarm. It's not worth the price of admission, is the everything that I've seen so far. But again, that's a beta. We've all had I've personally had an experience where I jumped into a game where it was an open beta. I didn't care much for it. A bunch of friends picked up the game. I jumped into it. And I think I'm the only one in this group that still plays it once in a while, which is Division 2. And but that being said, I'm not into hero shooters. But with the amount that's out there and all of the free to play versions, I don't see this one succeeding. I hate to say that. It's a shame. Because I want all the success for Firewalk. I can't see it.
Yeah.
It's going to end up having high player count for the first few weeks. It's going to taper off, and then we're going to be sitting here having a conversation a few weeks later of what the hell could have Concord been? What happened with
Exactly.
Concord? Why did it fail? And I feel that that's going to be the direction, the conversations we're going to be having in a few months after it's released. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see it. And there's too many hero shooters out there.
Yeah. And I mean, it kind of begs the question too, and it more or less ties into what you're saying. If I buy Concord, what are you giving me? Like, what am I getting out of buying Concord that I'm not getting out of playing Marvel Rivals or Overwatch 2 for free? Like,
I think
what's
the answer there is going to be microtransactions.
More than likely, yeah.
There's going to be less push for microtransactions.
Yeah.
You will play as Blade in Marvel Rivals, you pony up or grind it out. You want to play as Captain Marvel, pony up or grind it out. That's the way free to play games are. If you pay for this game, there's going to be the majority of the characters are going to be available at launch. You're going to be able to pick, but I guarantee that there's going to be some behind a paywall as well. And that's going to be the direction that they're going to go. Still going to be microtransactions. It's just not going to be as much in your face. Rob, I got to ask you though, what's your take on this though, for sure? Because I mean, you've been pretty quiet about some of this stuff though. I know you said that you're excited, like it looked good to you. I know that's what you said, but
it had that Guardians of the Galaxy-esque humor to it, which kind of endeared itself to me. So I don't know. I kind of run hot and cold on hero shooters, so we'll see with this one. Honestly, I'll keep watching reviews for it, and
a heads up, anyone on PC, you're going to need a PSN account.
yep,
It's been confirmed. You will
we might have
absolutely
gotten away
need a
with that with
PSN account.
Helldivers, but
It's not happening again.
not happening
You will
again. No,
absolutely
lightning will not be
you will
striking.
absolutely need a PSN account.
Before we get into our final news story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like this video if you like what you're watching. So let's get into our final news story, and that is unfortunately that Crash Bandicoot's 5? Yeah, Crash Bandicoot 5 has been canceled after 3 years of work, says the developer. While Toys for Bob?
That is the
That's the
developer name.
developer.
Yep.
Okay, I thought it was
Yep.
Naughty Dog, but
Nope.
shows how out of the loop I am. While Toys for Bob has recently released games like Crash Team Rumble, a developer suggests that Crash Bandicoot 5 won't come out anytime soon. In fact, this developer states that the project has been completely canceled. The team worked hard on this game for about 3 years, but it was permanently shut down a few days ago. According to the developer, all attempts to save the project have now failed. While all hope seems lost for Crash Bandicoot, reports state that team is currently focusing on the Spyro series following the Activision merger. Toys for Bob went independent, but it was partnered with Microsoft for the next. So for me, this kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't even know that there was a fifth Crash Bandicoot in development.
Yeah, neither did I actually.
I heard rumors about it, but nothing was confirmed in my mind either. So Crash Bandicoot 4 was actually free on PlayStation Plus a few months ago. And I did try getting into it, and I gotta say, it was a lot harder than I thought it was. Um, and I mean, I kind of had that stance on this before last week with the whole no death thing. But they did actually have something with this game, and I got to the point where I turned it on because it was that hard, where if you had unlimited lives. Which I guess I probably should do an educational patch thinking about this, and with our conversation last week, and say that I was probably wrong. I was actually wrong with that conversation last week. Thinking about this further, because they had a mode that was very similar to this that I forgot about. But it was a tough game. I only got through a couple levels before I turned it off, and I was kind of happy I didn't spend any money on it. And I thought about buying 4 at launch. And it's not that I dislike the series. Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped was one of the first games I played on PlayStation 1. And I have the Insane Trilogy, and every once in a while I'll download it and I'll install it just to jump into something and kill time with. But the other thing is, really thinking about it, how many platformer games are there out there these days? Like, it's almost like either there's almost like an oversaturation with them at times too. It's not as bad as Souls-like. So that could be the case with this. Spyro is kind of a platforming game, kind of. But it's a little bit more original, I think, which is one of the reasons why they could get away with doing Spyro over Crash. It is a shame, but I'm not 100% sure on how well Crash 4 did at release and at launch, and maybe that was also a deciding factor. Maybe it underperformed. They never really confirmed why 5 was canceled. They just said it's been canceled. We're not going forward with it. And I know that a lot of people I've been seeing in some of the comments on Facebook and YouTube that this Microsoft is where games go to die, and I disagree with that. And I know that it has happened in some cases, but they do need to be able to make those decisions that are financially responsible to make sure that they're making the money back for these purchases. And maybe they just find that that's just not the way of doing it. So to answer your question, Naughty Dog did originally design Crash.
That's what I thought.
And yes, and that was something that they did for the first 3. And Toys for Bob did kind of take over with the Insane Trilogy and with Spyro Reignition. And I think basically it sounded to me like the contract lapsed with these characters and it was handed off to Toys for Bob.
Okay.
And that's where they started taking the character a different direction. Naughty Dog is known for a completely different genre now, and I don't think that it really follows their guidelines and what they want to do with their games. They're very narrative based now, and they're telling stories like The Last of Us and Uncharted. They want to have those more emotionally impacting games, or as Monster says, sad dad stories. And I get it. It's just a shame that this game has been canceled, and it would have been nice to see more on it. But I do think that it's likely because there's just so many platformers out there. People are just there's too many of them. Just unfortunately let it go.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. There are a lot of platforms that are out there. A lot of indie developers too, which good on them. It's great to see indie developers uh, getting games out in the market. I like I said, I had no idea that this game was even a thing. I haven't played Crash since the original, like the original Crash
Mhm.
1, and some Crash Team Racing.
Yeah.
So, um, it was a great set of games back then. I don't even if even if it did come out, I don't think I'd be excited for it, honestly. Just because, like I said, I haven't really been a part of the franchise in that long. Um, so I mean, yeah, I'm not terribly disappointed that it's been canceled. Maybe we'll see something come back in the future. Who knows? But it's good to see that at the very least, the teams that have been working on it have been reassigned to other projects. So it's not like we're seeing, another 500 layoffs,
Yeah, exactly.
or anything like that. Knock on wood. That, all of a sudden we're going to be talking about this next week and going, yeah, 500 layoffs at Toys for Bob. So hopefully not. But yeah, after the Activision merger, yeah, I mean, obviously we still got to make games. This one just wasn't on. This one just didn't have the cards in the future for it, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is for now. The fact that they're working on a new Spyro, though, is kind of exciting. I feel like personally, Spyro was a little bit more popular than Crash, so maybe that's kind of why they made this decision. But
I would actually disagree with that. I
well,
do
I don't
think
care what you
Crash.
think.
Well, then what am I doing here?
No,
um,
I mean, you could very well be right too. I'm spitballing really, but
yeah, Crash has had a very large following, but I feel that
Mm.
the direction that they've taken the character, it's hard to kind of move away from that and make it a take it the direction that it was originally. Um, it's, as I said, for me, I put the game down because it was tough. It was one of the harder games that I've played, and maybe that's going to be a reason being is it's just a lot of people are just having a hard time getting into it. I mean I never finished Crash 1 because again it was another game that was it was very difficult to get through. I still can't get across that stupid bridge, and if you know, you know.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and that was one of the first times I remember wanting to take my controller and throwing it through my screen. Um, but it got to the point where I removed or I stopped playing 1 and I went to 2, and I had a lot more fun with 2 and 3. And it was a lot more enjoyable time. So again, maybe it's just the way that the platformers are going. Spyro is a little bit more of an original idea, and that's the likely reason why they're going forward with it. But I do agree. I think we could be having a conversation in a few years that Crash 5 is in fact actually happening. Maybe the oversaturation goes down and Toys for Bob goes, you know what? Why don't we let, you know, another division of Activision have at it and see what they want to do with it. This title in this series has been moved from one place to another, and just thank God it hasn't been during mid process or development like Duke Nukem Forever, because that was a complete nightmare. But I do hope that there is something in the future.
So that wraps it up for the news this week. Like I said, not a lot of news this week, but hey, we still got some stuff to talk about, so always good for that. I want to thank Ryder Pride and Agent Maverick 86 for joining me this week for the show. All of our socials will be down in the description down below. You can find me over on my YouTube channel. You can find Ryder Pride over on his Twitch channel. Uh, and you can follow Agent Maverick over on the New Geek Corner on Facebook. Anything you want to add here at the end of the show, gents?
Well, I will be having a review of Twisters coming up this week. So keep an eye on my page for that. I'm going to try dropping that on Friday. And then also next week, I'm still going to be releasing a review for Wolverine Deadpool. So keep your eyes on my page. Still no streaming going on right now. There's been some family issues going on here the last little while. So things are going to be kind of sporadic.
Yeah,
But
and
I should also add, the race with Monster starts this Friday, with
oh right,
Flintlock.
yes.
So we will keep you posted with that. I'm not sure how quickly I'm going to be able to get into it, but just to let you guys know, that is going to be happening starting this week. So race for me with Monster, and also review for Twisters. Very excited for that movie. Reviews have been looking very, very good so far.
Ryder, what about you?
As for me, still find me over on Twitch. I'm still doing my Dragon Quest Platinum Progression run. I did just release a new early access review for a game called Deathless Tales of Old Russ, which is a roguelike card battler, deck builder type game. So that review is actually available over on my YouTube, as well as the full gameplay VOD as well. So once there's supposed to be another patch coming out for the game that's supposed to release a second hero to choose from for the game. So once that second hero is released, I'll probably do another playthrough with another review with that character, and kind of do more of a kind of like a tips and tricks and strategies and things like that for that particular character. So hopefully we'll be able to see that one very, very soon.
And I have taken the Maverick Challenge, and I'm playing Guardians of the Galaxy over on my YouTube channel. Those episodes will be dropped. Yeah, look at the T-shirt Ryder's wearing. Those episodes will be dropping every Wednesday. So I'm back up to 3 days a week now. All it took was the Maverick Challenge to get me back at doing 3 days a week.
I'm so excited to hear your take on it once you get into it further. But yeah, I think you're going to absolutely love it.
Well, I've liked it so far. So, but like I said, I'm only an hour into it. So, but yeah, next episode will be coming out next Wednesday. So look forward to that. So I think it's time we power down the system and put the controllers away. Thank you for joining me again this week, gentlemen. Uh, Socials in the description. Like, subscribe, all that groovy stuff. And we will talk to you again next week for more news in the gaming world in the Level 1 Lounge. Until then, take care and talk to you again, and talk to you another time. I don't know how to do outros. Bye.